to this YouTube series. The point of this series is to actually do a non-trivial data related project. So we want to take the data set that is present in Kaggle, which is actually the movie lens data set. It is actually a pretty complicated data set and it has quite a bit of volume. So it is not going to be a very trivial, 2-minute application. So it's going to involve some bit of coding and some bit of data analysis, data understanding, exploratory analytics, and also can eventually grow into a machine learning based model. So, with that motivation in mind, and also to learn about Azure, I think this is a good selection. So, let's quickly take a look at our motivations, right? So, the idea of doing this project is to actually allow us to kind of understand the various offerings inside the Azure space. Initially, it's definitely going to target a lot more the data use cases. So we're going to basically take the data that is there in Kaggle, download it, we'll analyze the data, and we'll do it in three different ways. So we'll take a developer journey, so where we don't want to where we want to keep the cost to a minimum. So what we'll do is we'll actually take Azure uh, virtual machine for data science development, and we will upload this data into that virtual machine, and we will basically run some notebooks, run some spark code, and then kind of analyze the data, right? That's the first step. Then let's say we are an established organization and we want to actually set up a data lake. So that is the next journey. We'll have a data lake, we'll upload all the data that is there in this movie lens data set, and then we are going to use Custo query language and the ADX tool that is a part of Azure's Data Explorer, and we'll try to generate the insights. So the good thing is we can compare the data insights that we generate here with the developer journey insights, and so we'll kind of do a sanity check as we go, right? And the third one is actually the data engineer. So we are actually taking the data set and try to make it into more production ready data sets and analytical pipelines. So we'll use Spark obviously to take the data from the data lake, Azure Data Lake system, and then ADLS 2.0. And then we will provision that into serverless pools on Azure Synapse and eventually take it into dedicated pools. So the idea is to kind of see the journey of a good data scientist, data engineer, data analyst, and developer. I hope you really enjoy it. So let's kind of move on to the project and the architecture and get a quick overview. So obviously all my code is in Git, and then we can see the link to the Git repository. We can clone the repository and it'll come into our laptops. So there are a lot of RM templates that are built so that we can speed up the process of deployments and not have to do a lot of things on the console. So anything that you see with an asterisk here kind of is provisioned via ARM templates. So it's all infrastructure as code. So just a bunch of commands we execute and then the whole infrastructure will get provisioned. So very quickly what we'll do is we'll set up a data science virtual machine based on Ubuntu. It has a lot of those tools like Jupyter Notebook, Spark, deep learning, machine learning, everything actually built into the system. So we don't have to configure anything. You get kind of everything for free. Deploy it and you're ready to go. And we'll also deploy a Postgres database, a simple basic tier, and we'll take the data set that is in Kaggle, shred that into multiple relational tables, and push that via Spark into the Postgres database. So we take the data, we put it into the data science VM, we shred the data, and we push it into Postgres. That is the first journey. Then the second journey will actually take the data from this Postgres database and load it into an Azure data lake. So it's going to have a raw zone and a container, and then we move the tables as is using a Azure Data Factory or Synapse pipeline, more specifically a copy tool. So then after the data is in the raw zone, we actually can read the data through Azure Synapse Analytics and create more specific use case capability driven models. So you can do an Azure Data Explorer tool to query the data, You can actually create a new sandbox. You can pull the data from this raw zone into your own sandbox, and you can do your own queries. So that's the second journey. And the third journey will actually be taking the data and then making it into a production kind of a pipeline run, where you take the data from the raw zone and then you use Spark to demonstrate certain things, create some pre-computed statistics, and then we explore the data with Synapse pools. We do both the serverless pools for saving some money and doing ad hoc analysis. And then if to do a more production-ready, dedicated warehouse, we actually use the Synapse dedicated ports. So all of that will be covered in a lot of these videos following this. So just to get a little bit more introduction into the dataset, this is pretty much the movie dataset that we get from Kaggle. It's in CSV format, but some of the columns are complex in nature. So you'll have an array of structures. So the idea of doing the Spark ETL is to actually take this movie data, credits, keywords, and links. The links we don't use as of now, but we can enhance it later. This is linking to the TMDB and IMDB websites. We can actually enhance this maybe later on to pull the data from a crawling perspective to get more data and ingest it into the data lake. So to start with, we have these three datasets, all CSVs, but then they're complex. We do ETL and we create all these individual relational database tables. And this is what we'll actually load into the Postgres database. Thank you. I think we'll continue with the other videos and then understand as we go. Thank you.